ASEAN Unites. Marco Rubio gets an earful by AZLAN ADNAN. In a rare show of unanimous ASEAN unity, Southeast Asian leaders delivered a coordinated diplomatic rebuke to U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio during his first official visit to the region, following President Donald Trump's announcement of sweeping new tariffs on ASEAN exports. The backlash, aired both privately and publicly, underscored growing exasperation across the bloc with what many now openly call Washington's arbitrary unilateralism and misguided protectionism. Rubio, who arrived in Kuala Lumpur on the 8th of July for the 58th ASEAN Foreign Ministers Meeting, had hoped to reaffirm U.S. commitment to the Indo-Pacific and discuss maritime security, cybercrime, and regional infrastructure. Instead, he was met with stern criticism and icy resolve. Foreign ministers from Malaysia, Thailand, the Philippines, Indonesia, and Singapore voiced deep concern over Washington's latest tariff strategy, which targets 6 ASEAN nations with import duties ranging from 25% to 40% on semiconductors, electronics, automotive parts, and agricultural commodities. While ASEAN leaders have previously been cautious about confronting Washington too directly, this time was different. We cannot afford to stay silent when protectionist measures are wielded recklessly, with little regard for the economic stability of an entire region, said Malaysian Foreign Minister Muhammad Hassan, speaking on behalf of the host nation. Hassan's remarks echoed the tone set by Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim earlier in the week. Anwar warned that the global trading system was being weaponized, referring to tariffs and investment restrictions as sharpened instruments of geopolitical rivalry. The sentiment was quickly endorsed by Indonesia and Vietnam, both of whom stand to suffer significant export losses under the new U.S. measures. Vietnam, notably the only ASEAN member to receive a limited exemption from the full brunt of the tariffs, also spoke out. Hanoi's Deputy Foreign Minister Nguyen Minh Vu stressed that preferential treatment for one ASEAN state over others weakens the bloc's internal cohesion and plays directly into the hands of external powers seeking to divide the region. ASEAN's rebuke struck at the heart of what regional leaders see as a betrayal. Washington's increasing reliance on protectionist policies under the guise of economic nationalism, even as it courts ASEAN support in containing China. The contradiction is not lost on anyone in the room. You cannot ask for partnership while undermining our prosperity, said Philippine Foreign Secretary Enrique Manalo. The message we're hearing from Washington is cooperate on security, but sacrifice your industries. That's not a partnership. That's coercion. Behind closed doors, the discontent was even sharper. According to diplomatic sources, Rubio was pressed to explain why the U.S. had bypassed prior consultation with ASEAN and unilaterally imposed measures that stand to unravel decades of trade integration. Rubio reportedly defended the tariffs as necessary to correct systemic imbalances and promote reciprocal market access. But ASEAN ministers were unmoved. Singapore's Vivian Balakrishnan was said to have bluntly asked whether the U.S. still regarded ASEAN as a strategic partner or merely a transactional tool. The confrontation comes at a sensitive time. The Trump administration's Indo-Pacific strategy has sought to rally support for a free and open region while expanding defense cooperation with countries like the Philippines and Vietnam. Yet its economic approach, marked by tariffs, export controls, and subsidy-driven reshoring, has sent the opposite signal. The impression in ASEAN is that Washington views Southeast Asia more as a pawn in its rivalry with Beijing than as an equal partner. Rubio's planned speech on maritime cooperation was hastily revised, and his bilateral meetings with Indonesia and Vietnam were shortened. Sources familiar with the meetings confirmed that not one ASEAN country expressed support for the new tariff regime, a striking rejection given the bloc's usual preference for diplomatic ambiguity. The backlash was not confined to rhetoric. Several ASEAN trade officials hinted at the possibility of joint appeals to the World Trade Organization or reciprocal reviews of U.S. investment privileges in ASEAN-based digital and fintech sectors. Rubio tried to salvage the trip by reaffirming America's enduring friendship with the region and promising that concerns would be conveyed directly to President Trump. But the damage was done. If Washington wants ASEAN's alignment, it cannot keep acting unilaterally, said a senior Thai diplomat. This region values sovereignty and consultation. America seems to have forgotten both. For the first time in recent memory, ASEAN has stood collectively and unequivocally against the United States, not out of hostility, but out of necessity. What Rubio received in Kuala Lumpur was not just an earful. It was a unified message. Trump's protectionism is unacceptable, unsustainable, and unworthy of a true partnership. A heartfelt light. To every soul whose hand did give, you've helped me dream, helped me live. In darkest hours your light came through, with hearts so kind, so pure, so true. Your gifts, like stars in deepest night, have steered me gently toward the light. Each coin, each word, each silent prayer, a thread of hope, so rich, so rare. My eyes once dimmed now seek the skies, and slowly, clearer visions rise. Because of you, I dare to see the world again. Its grace, its plea. Your compassion's flame will not just stay with me alone. It lights the way for others wandering through despair to feel the warmth of selfless care. You've shown what love in action means, in quiet ways through giving scenes. You've built a bridge from soul to soul and made the broken feel more whole. So let this thanks rise like a song, a melody both soft and strong. May your example gently call more hearts to rise to give. To fall into the joy of lifting pain, of planting hope where none remains. Your kindness walks beside me still, a light, a love, a living will.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to show your support.